Well, I emptied 2 drawers out, right? This is where all my open end, box end, whatever you want to call them, wrenches were. And they were all mixed up, and I couldn't ever find anything, so I'd pile them up on top of the workbench here. And we're going to split them into, I'm thinking the top one metric, because I use those more often. The bottom one will be SAE. Yeah, so we'll start churning through them, getting them with each other. I got some, like, there's a set that fits in this little clip, so I'll put them in there just because they'll take up less space. I tried to separate out some of the secret stuff, right, like the crow's feet. I got a whole pile of snap-ons I gotta bring all those together, so it'll take a hot minute, but it's gonna be worth it. And essentially, once I didn't need to have my tools at work anymore, I brought them home in the back of the pickup truck and never reorganized anything that splashed around. So like this stuff that was in rails, you know, it did a pretty good job staying in rails. You know, this drawer is just other sockets that don't have a home. You know, like really I should do something about this one, right? These are all hex and whatever, you know, weird little keyway sort of stuff. I don't know. It works out pretty well. So yeah, but this will be a big upgrade. It's getting there. So we're down to metric stuff over here, SE over here. Yeah, so we're missing our 13 and our 9, and let's see, those gear wrenches, what are we missing? Yeah, 13 and 11. So there's a good chance those are in my toolkit that stays in the car. Maybe we'll change that. Maybe I'll go through the wrenches I have out there and just buy a set that goes in my work kit, my little mobile kit. That way I have the good stuff here at home. So we'll see. We'll see how it all fits. I think it's gonna be hard to jam all the metric stuff in here, so I might have to overflow into the other drawer with maybe some of the stuff I don't use as often. Here's the SAE drawer. That one worked out fine just because I don't have a lot of SAE wrenches. I don't have a use for them, right? Well, once in a while I do. And then here's all the metric stuff. It's getting real, like, had to stack things up, kind of crowded. So I think I need, well, I see more stuff like this, right? This is just that sleeping mat material from Walmart that I use for other things, you know, like this drawer has, well, he's not in his home, but he doesn't have a home. So it works pretty well. You just cut it out, you can hot glue it together, and it keeps things organized. Now these, they're pretty flimsy when there aren't wrenches. Like once there's a bunch of wrenches in them, they hold each other up. But if you take half those wrenches out or start banging the cart around, they fall over. So maybe I'll buy nice plastic ones or mix them out of wood or something like that. But yeah, I think that's all we need is a little more vertical storage for these guys. And really what I ought to do is take the big sets. Like if I took the snap-on and the gear wrenches and just hung those on the wall, you know, because they're the ones I use the most often anyway, then it wouldn't be a big deal. There'd be plenty of space in here. At the same time, I've got 2 more tool carts out in the shed, but I just don't have space in the garage for them and they're empty. So, it is what it is. So we started putting the plugs back in. I'm missing one. It probably got mangled and I threw it out. So these just, you know, cleaned up the backside of them, made sure there wasn't anything weird, and I'm snapping them in with some RTV on them, and then we'll go over them with a coat of the undercoating to kind of finish things up. And then this guy, this big dude, and these dudes, and the more I look at them, I don't think they have a gasket, right? Because I'm looking at this that came off, and it's all funny shaped, and it's got all the little dots in it that go around these little dots. And all I can think is that they did that so that they put a bead of sealant along the floor, and then they put this in place and it comes through there, and it's kind of what helps hold it all together. So we'll get these little plates. Now one of them, you know, the floor doesn't have the hole for it anymore, right? So we only need one of these. We don't need both of them. But we'll get them in the sandblaster and get them cleaned up, because they nickel and dime me to death if I start buying these. Like, I think these are like $4 or $5 each, because people don't manufacture them anymore, and whatever's in stock, they're just like, yeah, you want it, $5. Well, no. I'll get a piece of steel and I'll weld this shut before I pay $5 for a new plug. So we're trucking right along on the bathroom, but it's doing a flood test. I'm going to do that flood test for 24 hours. So do a little car work. I think really just get to grinding out sandblasting, right? Sandblasting and paint for some of the stuff that's going to go back in. I've left the fuel tank outside for a while. I should have done the lid off to kind of evaporate stuff out, but I want to pop that top from it and kind of see what we can do about cleaning up the gunk inside. There's still some of it in this green bucket. See, anything in here that's white was from cleaning something up in the bathroom. Oh, it's from washing off my tools. But all that brown stuff is still from that fuel, right? This is a brand new bucket. We put the fuel in, and like, it scrapes off. It's dried up and it scrapes off. So I'm gonna see, maybe I'll pour some mineral spirits or something in the bucket and see if it just kind of dissolves. And if we can get most of it out, I'm fine with most of it. In your worst case, we clog up a fuel filter or two. Just call it growing pains, right? But maybe there's not as much junk in there as I think, but after pouring stuff out and having it do that, I think whatever is sitting in there's probably a whole bunch of junk in the bottom of that. So we'll take a look at that. Buddy Steve's friend is moving, so he's getting rid of some stuff, and we got a nice big bag of aluminum oxide so we can top the thing off. I had been having to tap it and stuff, so maybe I'll put a vibrator on it like some people do, but I think with just more media in there, I won't have to worry about running out. And then he also let me borrow his brake flaring tool, so he speaks really highly of this thing. Told me that I'm going to need a couple different pairs of pants after I use it, so we'll see how that goes. But it looks stout, like it looks really good. So the dies are nice and tall for, good grip on the lines. Everything's on a dial here, and it goes in your vise. So we'll get the directions out on that, and we'll do a quick practice one. We got a bunch of line, so we'll just spool a little bit of it out and see how this tool works. Okay, so here it is all set up. Basically the dies go in here. They have one side is for your SAE style double flare, and one side is for DIN style bubble flare. So Volkswagen uses bubble flares, except that I think that new Super Doriftu handbrake, where did I put it? I think this probably uses doubles. Yeah, so this uses double flares, and I think the proportioning valve uses double flares, and then the Volkswagen uses bubble flares. So we'll have a mix of them. We have a mix of fittings. Everything's gonna go great. Oh, and also got this little guy, a little upgrade. So it has supposedly an 18-hour battery life, but I just leave it plugged in, come in here and turn it on. I had been plugging the phone in here, and anytime I get a text or something's going on or I need to pause the music to film, I got to wander all the way over here and mess with it. Well, now I can keep my phone in my pocket, so it's just a little Bluetooth receiver. I still have to walk over and shut the fan off, and these are the top, but it works. So the way this guy goes, you get your die in there, right? You push your thing through, and OP0 is your stop. That gets your length correct for the flare, allegedly. We'll see. I mean, it's going to work great. And then your OP1 is the first step, and this will make either your bubble flare, right? Well, it'll just make your bubble flare for all the sizes. And then the second operation, which works for more than one size apparently, is what will make your double flare. So we're doing 3/16 line, which will be this guy, right? And we'll only have to do that one step for most of the brakes. And after that step, we leave it in place and go ahead and doop, and we make our double flare. So what we'll do is we'll leave this attached. I got this end all cleaned up and ready to go. And we'll make a double flare first, because we can look at the bubble that it makes, see how we feel about it, and then we can make the double. And we'll just use this line to go from the proportioning valve to the brake lever. So or we could do it from, well, that stuff's not going to get mounted. We're just going to have line coming up in the car. So yeah, we can do the double, and then we'll just know that we'll cut off a shorter length, and then we'll do the other side, whenever we need to. So that'll work. So back to OP0, we get this set up. So I'm guessing, because he said this thing's so awesome, I can probably just go ahead and do this one-handed, right? Because this pulls out. Wait a minute, because that can't turn. That's not right. Something else. I wonder if you line this up with it pushed all the way in. I don't remember it saying that in the directions. But I bet that's the actual case. I bet I'm supposed to be. Wait a minute. Let's have a look. Because how would you turn it? Place the base, place the die head, fully clamp pin. Rotate, clamp upward, put your dies in, place tube between the die halves, rotate, clamp, and place third retainer, spin rotating die head with the appropriate size, lined up at the end of the tube. But right here, rotate die head so the flat face die OP0 is facing the end of the tube. Move lever inward towards body, yes. Using the OP0 die as a stop gauge. Tube must be flush with the end of the die set. Okay, so the tube has to be flush there, and you press this against it. So, yep. Never said I could read. So just to reiterate, I'm going to leave this loose, right? I'm going to put my tubing through. I'm going to use this as a stop with one hand, and then I'm going to tighten this lever with the other hand. That makes way more sense. Now it's flush. So we got a cleaned up end that's flush. We're doing a 3/16. That's OP2. So in OP1, 3/16. I guess that's the end. All right. I don't want to take it out. I just realized because that'll screw it up. So let's go ahead and we'll leave this one as a bubble flare because I want to look at it. And then when we do double flares, we'll just do a double flare. So, but I have to get brake stuff together before I want to, wait and cut this to length because I don't want to waste any material. So that was really easy, and look how good that flare looks. Like, that's great. And I can see too, like if I already had my pieces cut to the lengths that I need, like you could just fly right through this, man. I mean, you turn to your stop, and with two hands, it's easy. Like, what I did is I tightened this down just a little bit to kind of make sure the pipe was level and there's a little bit of drag, and just kind of and slid it back so it's nice and flat. Kept that down, tighten this up, and then you just a couple turns, and then boom, you're flared. You're like, he was right. This thing's great. Everybody should have one of these. Like, I don't care if you're only doing brakes once. This is the tool to get, and then let all your friends borrow it so that they buy you beer. Or in my case, I'll just make them some mead. Thanks, Steve. Well, I gotta leave for work in 45 minutes, so I'm gonna call that a morning. Got this bracket done. The other one, I barely got any on it. It's just that, after doing these three pieces, that compressor's spitting out so much water that it just clogs up the nozzle and it doesn't do its job. So gotta wait for the thing to cool down, let everything dry off, drain the water out of it. It's really a pain in the butt. So we're looking at, there's not a whole lot of parts that I'm gonna blast, just the smaller stuff, like some of these smaller brackets. But it's one of those where, these two brackets and these two plates, that might take me 2 mornings just from the compressor filling up with water. So there's a few solutions people have come up with that are cheap, right? I'm not gonna go buy like a desiccant tower, something crazy like that for $3,000. But it's just that, I mean, that little Craftsman just isn't designed for this. So, but it's one of those where I'm not going to spend the money on a much nicer compressor, because once I'm done blasting this car, I'm not going to do this kind of crap until I have a second garage, and then I'll just buy a bigger compressor. Now, in the meantime, maybe it will be worth investing in a little bit of water removal, especially since we're going to be using it to spray that Raptor liner on the interior. So I saw a setup that people did with copper pipes, where they essentially had a bunch of up-down zigzags. So the bottoms would collect the water, and the pipes would kind of cool the air and let that water fall out as it went through. So maybe I have space on that wall for something like that, because that wouldn't be too expensive. Just some valves and some tube, right? So yeah, if I pull down these boards, I could do a bunch of, you know, coil-looking thing along the wall, and then just have an air line. But you know, it'd be kind of cool just to pull the stuff out of this corner and do like more of a sound barrier, like put a box, a ventilated box around the compressor, because we don't want it sitting in there heating itself up. Maybe a little fan. Anyway, we'll think about it. We want to get too involved. Well, we do want to get really involved. So maybe that might be nice. Put the compressor in here, insulate it, and on the outside of whatever box we use to kind of dampen the noise a bit, put a big coil of copper tubing, if it can hold that pressure. We'll do some research tonight at work in between test runs, and just kind of see how she goes. And in the meantime, when I get home tonight, I can at least paint these three up, right? We don't want to get paint in there where the slides go. I can paint the heads of these. There's threads there, so maybe more earplugs are in order. At the same time, I don't want to pour 15 an earplug to it and not be able to get it off. So maybe on this one we'll be careful with it, and then we'll run a tap down those to clean up the tops of the threads.